great questions, and we're planning on making this a very interactive presentation. Jody, thanks for clicking record. Wouldn't that have hurt if we hadn't recorded? So the topic today is career confusion, how parents can help their students and teens make post-secondary plans. And just to give you a sense of where these ideas come from, I studied industrial organizational psychology, a type of psychology that studies the workplace. It led me to 7 years of consulting in all these different organizations. I worked for a company called DDI. You might see their logo there in the middle of the screen. And I got to work with all sorts of different sectors in the context of human resources, training, assessment, and coaching. And everything I learned in that experience, I translated to create my company called SparkPath. And a bit about SparkPath, we help young people figure out what they want to do in their future. And we have a very different way of doing that, which we'll reveal to you today. Our career tools are used by hundreds of different schools, including the universities here. And they're used all across North America, even beyond North America, in New Zealand and Singapore. We've got people here on the call that are using them in Germany. And we've helped over 70,000 students through these schools to prepare for their future. And today we're going to share exactly what we learned so that you can use it to set up your teens for success. So the way I want to start is by sharing the story of one of the first parents that I helped as a career coach. So this mom that I helped, her daughter was 16, and when it came to her future, she felt lost. The mom asked me, can you help? What can you do to help? I said yes. So I worked with her daughter to help her discover, number one, the impact she could have on the world, and number two, what she needed to do to get there. And at the end of the program that we did together, here's what the mother said to me: "You'll never understand the profound impact you had on my daughter." When I heard that, I thought, wow, this is important work. And this is one of the moments that inspired me to invest the next decade of my life into helping young people reach their potential, because it makes such a big difference. When I think about parents, this is at the heart of what they want for their kids. They want their kids to be happy. They want them to reach their full potential. And for this to happen, parents have a really important role to play. How important? Well, today, right now, according to the research, parents are the biggest influence on students' careers. That might feel surprising to some parents who think that their peers are their biggest influence. Well, what I've seen in the research is that parents are still number one. So it's an important role to play, isn't it? So as a parent, you can think about this session, this webinar today, as a very good investment of your time, because you may have gathered from the recent headlines that things in careers and education aren't working as well as they could. What do I mean by that? Well, right now, half of parents financially support their adult children, according to studies. By the way, I'm going to share a lot of links, information, articles, and at the end of this presentation, we're going to send you the slides that we used, the recording of this webinar. So if you want to just absorb, you can do that. If you want to take notes, you can do that as well, but you're going to get all this information. What else is coming through the news? Well, some parents are still financially supporting their kids in their 30s. Why is that? Well, there's a lot of moving parts to this career conversation. Even though we're talking about parenting today, this is not necessarily a parenting workshop on how to be a great parent. We're focused in on the transition from high school to post-secondary. I think a lot of the ideas that apply here, they can be used with there's a parent here who said my kids are 8 and 10. I think you'll be able to translate these concepts so that they're useful for them. So with that focus in mind, here's exactly what you're going to get out of today's webinar. We're going to cover what unique obstacles youth are facing today, why matching students to one job title doesn't work, why building a challenge mindset is one of the best ideas that parents can use in being career coaches for their teens. And then we're going to share a bunch of recommendations and resources so that you can put this to use right away. Jody, that's the agenda. That's what I want to cover. Is it realistic? Did I forget anything? How are we doing so far?
We're doing great.
Okay.
You got everything. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's make this an ambitious use of our time. My intent is that this webinar has $2 million worth of value for you as a parent. Why $2 million? Well, let me explain. If you think about your kid's career and how it's going to span over 40 to 50 years, and you had to guess their lifetime earnings over that period of time, they could earn $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 million. Your investment of time today to think about purposeful career exploration might help them double their lifetime earnings. I know that's a big, bold commitment, but I want you to invite to think about where things go wrong here. What we see right now in schools and in students transitioning is students not meeting expectations, transitioning from education to work. It's students facing obstacles to even onboard into the workplace. It's students not being able to find jobs. So this has real financial ramifications. And you don't need to focus only on the dollar value of this. There's a human side to this that you know deeply as a parent. We all feel the suffering as a parent when you want to help your kids, but you don't know how. My version of that today is my son throwing a tantrum and me calling Jody and trying to figure things out, right? But you have your own version of that, right? So today it's about connecting students with great opportunities so they feel engaged and empowered, and it's helping them reach that financial success and independence that they're striving for. And I see Nicholas here. Nicola, these are the things that we talk about all the time, right? We have that great intent as career advisors and career coaches to help students, and parents feel this on a much more emotional level. And there's a special group of people that I want to call out here. Nicola, you're one of them. On the call here, parents, I want you to know that there's a lot of career advisors, career professionals, career coaches that are also parents. And the more time I spend with career advisors, the more I feel this energy that there's a tribe of people, there's an army of people that want your youth to thrive, that want your kids to reach their full potential. And what I've been doing over the last few years is gathering their unique insights and information that I want to bring back to you so that you can use when working with your teens. Nicola, is that the way you would say it too, or would you say it differently? And you didn't know I was going to invite you to talk, but of course you're here. I'm going to invite you to talk.
100%, I agree with you. I am very passionate about the future leaders and the future businesses of the world, and that's who I'm working with, are those future people.
And I'm glad you're here because there's obstacles that your youth are facing, and the advice of yesterday doesn't necessarily work today. So let me share some bad advice with you to share to start this call, okay? Here's some advice that rarely works. Follow your passion. Wait a minute, that sounds good. Sounds engaging. Well, listen, most youth who are asked follow your passion will tell you, well, my passion is being a professional hockey player. Like, I want to play in the NFL. I want to be a football player. Where do you go from there if you're a parent trying to have a career conversation? Some students take follow your passion as, I'm going to pick one job title that I have for life that I'm passionate about. And then there's so much pressure to figure out that one job title. So that doesn't work very well. Here's another piece of advice that I hear a lot. Well, they're too young to know what they want. It's not, it's normal. I like the idea of normalizing not knowing. That's a good thing. You can do that as a career advisor. You can do that as a parent. But too young, this I'd push back on. This is disempowering. In fact, in this webinar, I'm going to show you age-appropriate interventions you can have with your kids, whether they're 8, 18, or 28, that you can adapt for them based on what they need. I'll tell you also, based on our experience in helping all these students, that the jump from too young to too late happens very, very fast. What do I mean by that? Well, they're too young to really know or to decide or to pick or to find out. And then all of a sudden, they're showing up to Nicola Edwards' office at the University of Guelph, and it's their 4th year and they don't know what they want to study or do as a job. It's too late, and it happened in a flash. The best parents that I've seen are proactive, so that too late, we never get there. Let me give you a couple more. I didn't know as a parent what I wanted to do, and that turned out just fine. Good. That might be true for you, but we should know as many students don't. Many students, they're not okay. They got stuck and there were consequences, right? So more and more kids today are struggling, and I'll explain why. Proactive parents, they know that they need to look beyond just their individual experience and their bias to help their kids with what they need. Okay, last two I'm going to put together. maybe we shouldn't do career exploration. I don't even know if I should be talking about this. Just let them figure it out on their own. For example, they should just go to college, just go to university, just go to post-secondary. They'll find out there what they like and what they're interested in. There is a place for change and serendipity, but without an overall framework, students can't even take advantage of college and post-secondary. They can't even make the most of it. So there's things that we can say, do, and ask that will set them up for success. And we're going to share that with you today. So where are kids at today? Some of the obstacles that they're facing is that they're less independent than they were in the past. They're more anxious. Many students are told, do your homework, focus on getting good grades instead of getting a part-time job. That's what the stats say. Students today are facing things like potential student debt, unemployment or underemployment after they graduate. Some of them see people working in the workplace and they see that they don't even like their jobs, they're disengaged. As a result of this, like they might feel disengaged when it comes to their future. I believe that they have so much to look forward to, but some of them are facing their future with anxiety and uncertainty, which is too bad because they've got a lot to be excited about. And all of these obstacles for youth are compounded by three factors. Let me share those three factors with you. One, the world of work is changing. There are tens of thousands of opportunities that maybe didn't exist before. Many are changing, some don't even exist yet. And change is continuing to happen at a rapid pace. So students today, they're likely to work in careers that will be impacted by artificial intelligence. The pace of change is going to continue to accelerate. And I think the headline here is that more change is coming. I'll give you an example. On Monday, the artificial intelligence company called OpenAI, they just introduced a new tool that helps people build mini AI agents in 5 minutes. What's a mini AI agent? I'll tell you. It's sort of like a bot or a chat bot that can mimic a person and that can help you solve problems. This, we're talking about a technology that it might have taken 500 or 1,000 hours for a company to create, that now OpenAI claims will take you 5 minutes to create. This small little change here that happened Monday is going to impact a lot of different companies, a lot of different sectors. And in this climate of constant change, when it comes to your kids, it's hard to know what's out there, what's coming, what's going to happen in the future. So we need a new approach to careers that goes beyond just finding the hot jobs today. I'll give you a second obstacle. There's a skills gap. Employers complain of a skills gap. What's a skills gap? Well, it's a mismatch between opportunities and talent. And employers want students who are ready to perform. They don't want to train them from scratch. They don't want to hire them in the first job. They want work-ready graduates, and the education system is struggling to produce work-ready graduates with new requirements. So the gap is, well, there's a mismatch, right? There's some students that studied one thing and it's not leading them to the job that they want. There's millions of students unemployed or underemployed. And there's unfilled jobs. Like there are open opportunities companies want to hire for that they can't hire for. Third and final issue that I wanted to highlight here is lack of help. Students need resources to bridge this gap that we just talked about, and they're not getting the help that they need. I think that I see a lot of the exception to this, by the way, because at SparkPath, we partner with the most innovative, inspiring, motivated career advisors. They're doing amazing work. I don't know if the parents here happen to be at a school that uses SparkPath and our approach with these very motivated career advisors. Not everybody has access to that, right? And those who don't, the students who don't, they're left to struggle on their own. And that can lead to what? Disencouragement, anxiety. And that's tough for every student, right? So I want to pause here to find out how are these issues affecting your teens? So the question for you that I have is, what's your teen struggling with the most when it comes to these issues? And for this, I know I'm asking you to be vulnerable. I know you're talking about your kids that you care about deeply, but I'm very open and interested to what you have to say because these issues impact teens differently. So if you can use the chat to tell us, what is it about these teens that they see as the biggest obstacles? I also want to acknowledge diversity for a moment. Like, if I think about the 45 or 50 parents that are on this call, your student, your teen is not in the same situation as another teen. I'm going to give a bunch of examples throughout this call. They may not apply to your teen. They may be suffering from different obstacles. They may have surmounted already different obstacles. They have different strengths. They have different abilities profiles. So I think it's a good moment to say that before we decide to, what's normal or what's right or what's wrong. So let me read some of the struggles so far. Decision making, that's great. Option paralysis. Emily, I often hear analysis paralysis, right? Sometimes I hear too many options. Sometimes I hear too few options. Confidence is a big one. Thank you. Peer pressure. Not being ready to talk about career choices. Yeah. Unrealistic expectations. That's a great one. Feel they need to have it all figured out. Yeah. So many choices. Great. That's a great one about business. Yeah. Becoming aware of the opportunities. Lack of awareness. That's a classic one, Maria, we see a lot. Stress, pressure, uncertainty. Mental health block. That can be tough. Grades suffered during COVID. I hear that all the time, all the time. Wanting to keep all doors open. Feeling pressure to find a good job, but those feel like just doctor, engineer, and lawyer. Kind of the classic ones, right? Maurice, like the classic job titles that everybody knows. Okay. I think we did it. Like, we highlighted the problem. You were aware of the problem before you came here. I hope this added some clarity to what's wrong. I hope that gave you context for what I'm learning from all the schools that work with SparkPath, all the career advisors I've had the privilege to meet, to be more specific about what's going on. Now let's just switch to what do we do about it? What exactly can we do? Here are the things that we see that could be potential solutions. Schools. Traditionally, we've looked at schools to bridge the gap. But what we mentioned is that in today's climate, the ratios of let's say a high school counselor or a university career advisor are very large. These people are in charge of thousands of students. So it makes them hard to support everybody that needs services. You could also look for counseling for mental health issues, for career guidance. Usually these are people that may not be trained in career development or career exploration specifically. And that's beyond their scope of expertise, even though they want to help. Another solution that I've seen is you just ask a family member. You think about the family member who's got the most impressive career or the most success career-wise, and you want to connect your young person with that. I love the spirit of that. But in some cases, what you'd rather have is a coach than someone who gives specific advice based on their job and their experience. And this is two very different things. A coach facilitates exploration and the student drives the process. And the mentor, they just give advice on here's exactly what you need to do to be successful like I am. So given the fact that these potential solutions might not work, it might feel discouraging, but I got to tell you, I'm not discouraged. I'm not a person who gets discouraged easily, but that's just my personality. But I've got great reasons. I'm going to try to convince you that you've got reasons to be optimistic as well. There are better approaches. The world needs these students, and we've got great ways to set them up that you can use right away. So I hope my optimism will infect you, okay? If you were to ask your teen, how many job titles do they know about, what will they say? How many do they know about? You heard 3 examples, doctor, lawyer, engineer. What's their list, your teen? Do they know 10 jobs? Do they know 20? Maybe they know 50. In my experience, it's probably around 20 to 30 based on the age range that you gave me at the beginning. Here's my next question for you. How many job titles are there out there? 10, 20, 30,000? The research I'm seeing is that there's at least 20,000 out there right now, and we know that this is changing all the time. It's in the it might be in the tens of thousands, 20,000, 30,000. And this is a big shift. Why is this such an important gap to highlight? Because traditionally, when you're a parent as a career coach, the whole conversation starts with the job title. I want you to explore a different approach today. Here's why. If we have the job title as the heart of this entire conversation, there's too many to keep track of. The ones that your kids know might be influenced by your job. They might be influenced by prestige and salary. We also know that new jobs are being created every day. And even when I was consulting with human resources organizations, they found that writing job descriptions is harder and harder because things are changing so quickly in the workplace. So what if we had a different approach? What if we, instead of exploring job titles, we explored challenges to solve, problems to meet, opportunities to take advantage of? Let me show you what I mean. Here are two challenges to solve. Can you tell me using the chat which problem you'd rather work on? Would you rather work on the challenge of inventing new biotechnology or promoting healthy living? We've got 46 people on this call. I'd like for you to consider this as a vote. Can you write in the chat, please, which challenge you would rather work on? Wow, promote healthy living. Look at that. We've got, okay, Bonnie, invent new biotechnology. That's great. Maurice, invent, okay, we've got a few. It feels like about 90-10 split. Hey, Sheila, promote healthy living. That's great. Phil, new biotech. Okay, great. 90-10 split. I love it. I love it. Imagine if your teen had to answer this. Could you guess what they would pick? Maybe. In my experience, when it comes to asking our students what problem we want to solve, is parents are often surprised what their teens pick. Okay, you're playing this game with me. We're choosing challenges to work on. Let's play again. I want you to work on two different challenges this time. Tell me which one you'd rather work on. Would you rather improve mental health or design the future of transportation? Which challenge would you prefer to work on? Can you tell me in the chat again? Okay, maybe more of a mix, improve mental health, transportation. Oh, thanks everybody for playing along. I love this. Mental health. Joan, welcome. Improve mental health. Maurice sees a connection between the two. I love that. This is interesting because if you were to ask someone why they picked the challenge, something a little bit magical happens. You may have a team that says, I have no idea what I want to do, but they can play this game. They can choose one challenge or the other. And then when you ask them, why did they pick that challenge? They've got reasons. Is it possible that when you ask your team, what challenge do you want to work on? They give you an example like this one. They could start talking about their values, strengths, interests, abilities, their systems of beliefs, their opinions about the world. It turns out that all this information is the raw material they need to make their post-secondary decisions. And you can highlight that through a conversation about challenges to solve. This is very different when I'm proposing challenges to solve, okay? This is the opposite of what most students tend to do now in schools. In schools, usually you're asked, pick your favorite class. Do you like math? If you like math, go to post-secondary and you can study accounting. What can I do with that major? Well, you become an accountant, right? It's very linear. And then you work for a firm of accountants, and then you realize 5 years in, like, what am I actually doing? What's the challenge I'm trying to solve? And maybe you help companies pay as little amount of tax as possible. And maybe you hate that. I don't know, it took you a long time to get there. Maybe you love it. What if today, as parents, we flip this model? We change the entire career conversation to start with challenges. We can invite young people to choose inspiring challenges to work on, and then help them work backwards to find, well, what companies and organizations are working on that now? Who works there? What jobs are they in? And what did they have to learn to be able to do that? Now, all of a sudden, you can connect the career story back to their day-to-day. Oh, I'm in an English class, learning communication skills that will help me improve mental health, because that's the challenge I want to work on in the future. This approach is called the challenge mindset, and it flips the career exploration conversation. And it's made a dent into the career development world. Our approach has been written about in this academic book. Jody, if you don't mind sharing this link with folks if they want to look more into the science and the evidence of the challenge mindset and how they can flip the career conversation. I've presented about this topic at TEDx. We're also publishing the book about the challenge mindset called The World Needs You, coming very soon this month of November. So the reason I share these resources with you is because it makes a big difference for students when you flip this conversation. In my TEDx talk, I talk about Anna's story. And Anna is an example of a student who had no idea what she wanted to do. She picked a problem to solve. And I had this conversation with her, applying a little bit of pressure. Not pressure to pick one job title for life, but pressure in the sense that, hey, Anna, if you don't pick a challenge to solve, someone else will pick for you. Meaning, you can explore career and education options with purpose to make sure they align with you, who you are, the impact you want to have on the world, rather than just hope. Hope that someone hires you at a great company. Hope that you find a job that works for you. So for a student like Anna, they're going to go through this process and learn more about these three things. What are their strengths, what they're good at? What's their purpose? Like, what do they like? And what does the world need? So you're working at the intersection and you're balancing what? Strengths, purpose, and challenges. Can you take a second to look at this chart and think about your family, your neighbors, your friends? Where would you plot them on this graph? Do you know someone who's way off to the side or way down here or even perfectly in the middle? And how does that impact their happiness level? This is an important way for young people to think about their careers with purpose. Okay. What are the outcomes for a student like Anna who goes through a purposeful career exploration process? Well, they get more clarity, they get more confidence, and they learn how to explore with purpose. Anna's not the only one that's achieving these outcomes. When students engage in this challenge mindset, we consistently see these results. That's why this approach is being adopted by so many schools, high schools, post-secondary. I've seen this used in middle schools as well. And by the end of the process, here's what we typically hear from students. The challenge mindset helped me learn that I have the power to be what I want in life. I like the word power, empowering. I think some students right now feel disempowered, like they don't have the power, the agency to explore and to make this happen for themselves. So what this means for someone like a parent is relief. Relief that their kids are on a path to become happy, to reach their full potential. So when I see a parent engage in this and wanting to do career exploration on purpose, I see it as a potential life-changing conversation. So for a parent to say something like, this experience will no doubt serve our son well for a lifetime, I think is important because we're not just making post-secondary plans. Students who engage with this way of looking at the world, they don't need to commit to one challenge, one path forever. They can look at their environment consistently throughout their lives to say, okay, well, what challenge do I want to work on next? Okay, I'm 21 now. Okay, I'm 25 now. Okay, I'm 35 now. How do I want to change? What do I want to do next? Okay, what problem do I want to solve? What do I need to do to get there? Do you see how this is a lifetime approach that prepares people for a lifetime of career development and career exploration? Again, not the traditional approach of matching one person to one job title for life. Let me pause here. I'd love to hear questions, comments, reactions. The next topic I want to talk about is parents as career coaches. I want to share some tips, ideas, and advice based on what I would call proactive career parents, what they say, what they do, what they don't say, what they don't do. I hope that these tips will be useful when tonight, tomorrow, you broach these topics with your teens. Again, all teens are different. We're going to share different examples. Before I do that, parents as career coaches, what questions, comments do you have so far? Looks like we're on track. Jody, you good?
I'm good. Yeah, people, yeah, you can put them in the comments, I think, too, if you'd rather put it in the chat there.
Yeah, whatever works best for people. I heard somebody unmute. If you want to unmute, I'm up for that as well.
Hi, GP, it's Ksenia here.
Hey, Ksenia.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
I have a question as a career professional myself. Is it more beneficial to have a career coach buddy that I trust, who could work with my child, or what does your research show? Are children more willing to work with their parents, or would they rather talk to somebody else as a career coach?
I'll start by sharing my personal experience in a different context, Ksenia, if it's okay with you. I tried to be the career coach for my wife. It didn't go very well. I have great ideas about the future of work and leadership and careers. However, our relationships have all these obstacles. If you look at the brain-based development of a teen, at that age, they're supposed to be doing this from you. Okay, and this is a healthy part of their development. I hope you can see me. For those of you who are only listening to this in audio, with my hands, I'm gesturing delineation or differentiation. Your teens are going a different direction. It's a healthy part of development. So there's a lot of biases that come with being simultaneously a parent and a career coach. Now, there's people on this call that have managed that duality extremely well. Mom career coach, dad career coach, parent career coach. However, there are biases that are introduced in the process. And I think there's pros and cons for you doing it and for someone else doing it. I know in my case, I'm going to take a hybrid approach. When my kids are ready for those ages, I'm going to do a little bit of it. I want them to discover a lot of it on their own, and I will get them to engage with people who might want to do it even more purposefully with them. That's my default options. I want to do a little bit of all those different ways. Thanks for the question. Maria asked when. I've got a good slide for when, Maria, coming soon. So we're going to talk about that. How can we structure a conversation with our teen in the challenge mindset approach? That one we'll cover as well. So let me give you maybe a few ideas about maybe the principles first before the mechanics. How's that? Let me call it principles before mechanics, because I think these three principles will help you make decisions afterwards about what's best for your teen. We have to be delicate here, by the way. You are the expert on what your teen needs, right? Like, I can't be giving you directional advice about what every student needs. My expectation is you adopt this based on the unique circumstances of your teens. I say the same thing to the career advisors that I train. They are going to adapt these ideas to exactly the needs of their students, because there's such a diversity of needs. Some students have too many options, some have too few, some are facing mental health barriers. So there's so many factors to keep in mind. However, I think the common core principles here are clear, and that you will be able to adapt them to what you need. So let me go back to sharing my slides. And again, Jody, Ali, I'll ask you for a thumbs up if this looks good. Great. So the best approaches from proactive career parents that I've seen, they do these three things. Number one, they want to invest in their kids' future, but they don't do the work for them. Okay? Both are involved. Second, they seek out external resources. It's not just their kids doing this on their own, or the parent figuring things out on Google, right? Like, that helps, but there's more external resources available. Third, they create a sense of urgency. Let's be careful about what this means. It doesn't mean urgency about picking one thing for life. Instead, it's urgency for action. What action? Exploration, discovering options, doing research. And I've been thinking a lot about what it takes to do that. And I mean, one of the best questions, I guess, is when. So let's say I'm meeting with a student who's 24, still hasn't graduated completely from their undergrad, not sure if they want to finish their undergrad. I mean, the easiest answer for when they should do a career intervention is 20 years ago. Have you seen this famous, I think it's called a Chinese proverb, that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, the second best time is now? I love this because there are career exploration interventions that we can do at almost any age that will proactively work to prepare someone before they're in a crisis. No judgment on a crisis, by the way. I think a great reason to come to this webinar is because you're in a crisis, and crises happen. They happen to me as a parent as well. But when you think about when, adjust this based on what you need, but think about some of these key messages that students could be getting throughout their lives, okay? In middle school, it might be helpful for students to learn that the world needs them. What a great way to step into the world, to go to class, to show up to life. I think some students will learn the opposite. The world doesn't need them, and I disagree completely. I think if we equip them to see, here are all the problems to solve, and we need you to solve them, it's a very empowering way to look at their future, to look at life. The world needs you. What a beautiful message to get in middle school. And by the way, the challenge mindset approach that we just used, including picking challenges, this has been used in middle schools. And we've gotten data from the schools that have used it, and this is an approach that resonated and worked to help young people at that age think about their career differently and their future differently. Maybe you've got a student that's in grade 9, and for them, they're just trying to think about, well, why am I even in high school? Let me give you a fun answer. You learn to contribute more. We might know that as parents, but I don't know how many students know that, right? We learn to contribute more. But that's an empowering, there's a purposeful reason to going to school. Oh, I learned to contribute more. In grade 10, students need to choose elective classes in high school. What if I chose classes that help me contribute more? By grade 11, you got to think about post-secondary, right? Where do I want to study? What do I want to study? Grade 12, you apply. When you're in post-secondary, you got to choose what you want to study, get internships, get your first career jobs. And this makes it look linear and normalized, and this all needs to happen at these specific ages. That's not true. Some of these messages can come earlier, can come later. It depends on the person in mind. But I just want this to give you some food for thought when you think about when. The last time I wrote about when we should start career exploration on LinkedIn. By the way, Jody, can you share my LinkedIn profile? Because it's probably the best place for people to follow up after this workshop if they want to follow more ideas about career exploration. I tend to post there a lot. But the last time I wrote about when, a very famous author that I respect criticized my answer. I think I said 3 or 4 years old, you know, and they said no, like it starts even earlier than that, because careers has to do with identity. Careers has to do with competence, and all these things are tied in at all stages of development. And I think that's a very eye-opening way of looking at it. Okay, we're talking about parents as career coaches. Let me summarize 3 ideas that great parents as career coaches do. They focus on exploration instead of decision making. That means creating options versus picking the one right one. What's the result? Well, you get students that feel empowered instead of pigeonholed. That's the promise of focusing on exploration. I've seen great parents empathize rather than pressure students. That allows students to go into more depth into what they want versus just focus on short-term answers or short-term speed of getting to that, you know, one perfect sounding path. Why is that important? Well, because you may have a young person, you know, in your life that says, I know exactly what I want. I want to be a surgeon. Well, what is it? Why? What makes you like that? Tell me about a surgeon. What is that like? One of the first students I ever worked with, they told me, I want to go into business law. I asked them, well, what's business law? And this 16-year-old said to me, it's a law about business. Okay, fair enough. You know, if that's your level of understanding now, maybe we should go into more depth before you decide to plan your whole life towards that one route. Fair enough? The last thing I'll say here is that parents ask questions rather than give advice. This is very hard to do because you have a lot of valuable advice to give. However, to help your students take ownership of this process, you want to listen more than you talk. And we've suggested some questions as part of this webinar already. For example, what challenge do you want to solve? We're going to suggest more, and that's going to give you some ideas about what questions to ask along the way. Okay, 3 career coaching principles. And I'd like to give credit to Janet McDonald, who Nicola Edwards, you recommended that I connect with as part of this. And she founded Serendipity Careers and has been using the challenge mindset approach for years. And she gave me a lot of ideas that helped me put together this slide. based on what she's seen and speaking to so many parents on her route. Okay. We've talked about some principles. What does it actually sound like? You might have a team that says, do I have to do this? You know, choose careers. I'm just in grade 10, I'm grade 11. You might say, I get that this topic might not be your favorite. How might it benefit you to learn about different options now instead of later? If the student can identify the value for them in their own words, it's probably more powerful than if you try to sell them on the idea. Here's another one. I have no idea. And they're maybe panicking. You might share that it's normal. It's completely okay not to have all the answers right now. It might feel like all your peers have picked the one thing they want to do, but what we should focus on is exploring. And let's start with one thing you're curious about. Our suggestion for that is ask them what challenges they're curious about. That's a great conversation starter. You might have a student that says, well, I just want to do this next year. It doesn't matter what next year means, like what age they are. They're just putting this off to later. Putting things off can sometimes be a way to procrastinate, cope with uncertainty. You know, some students might think, oh, I just need to do this after I graduate, you know, when I'm 22. Not true. In fact, what you should be doing is breaking things down in smaller steps and discussing what actions you can take now. And we suggested some clear actions for you to flip the model. These are the steps we showed you today. Finding challenges that students want to work on, the companies they might work for, what jobs are they in, and what education programs help them learn what they needed to learn. And for parents who want to do it themselves, this is the approach that we recommend that you take on and help students explore these different steps. Okay, Maria, there's a grade 10 credit civics career course that would help parents to springboard conversations at home as they explore interests and opportunities in class. You're right. I've met so many inspiring people teaching that grade 10 career course that are using the challenge mindset and our tool, the challenge cards, in those conversations. In fact, Jody and I are setting up a keynote presentation for an entire district in Toronto on Monday, where all their teachers will be trained in the challenge mindset, and they'll be using our tools in grade 10 in other classes as well. So if your son or daughter or teen is in one of these classes, great. This is a great springboard and you can follow up at home. But let's be candid. They might not be. They might be in one of those schools where the grade 10 careers class is the most failed class in the province. I've seen that. I've seen that data, okay, come through. They might be in a school where the director, the principal gave this class to the newest teacher that was willing to accept it, and they have no training or interest in careers. That could happen as well. You want to mitigate against these risks, right? For the parents that are looking for help, that want a different way of doing things, what I'm proposing to you today is the SparkPath Career Assessment, where students can use the challenge mindset to gain career clarity and confidence. I want to tell you about how it works so you can decide if it's a fit for you. Okay, step one, students go through a guided reflection process. One of the things that they do here is think about what they want, what they like, what they don't like. They also pick challenges to solve. Do you remember when you did that earlier in this call? You looked at different challenge cards and you picked the challenge you wanted to solve. Step two, SparkPath creates their customized challenge profile. Step three, we meet one-on-one with the student through a coaching call to help them understand their results and to take action on what they need to explore next. So what's the goal? Well, we want these three outcomes that Anna got, that other students are getting: clarity, a clear framework for how to explore careers. And I like this word framework because it's an approach with steps that they can go through. Second, they get confidence. They create a path based on how they are uniquely wired to contribute. And third, they get purpose. They tap into their motivation. And part of this approach is the generation of their own challenge profile. So Jody, I wanted to give it a shot to show a challenge profile that we created. Can you let me know how well this shows up on the screen, Jody? Does that work?
Yeah, that looks good.
So we removed the name of this. This is a real report that we made. Let's call this person Sample Sam, just for illustrative purposes. the first part of the report shows them some unique potential strengths that they have. This is a connection builder, Sample Sam. This is someone who's good at problem solving. This is someone who wants versatility and is going to leverage that. We're going to help them find ways to use these strengths to explore careers. Do you understand how Sample Sam has these unique strengths? It differentiates them. They're going to approach careers differently. They're going to be wired for careers differently. So first, we help them develop their self-awareness. Then we help them explore education options, which is part of post-secondary planning, right? They look at education options based on how it would help them solve a challenge. Let me say that again. Look here where it says improve mental health. We're going to recommend education options based on how they're wired and how they want to contribute so that they can help contribute to a challenge to solve. Do you see the connection there? And we're going to do so with creativity. They're going to discover new options they hadn't thought about before. That's the number one piece of feedback that we get from parents and teens, like, wow, this gave us options we never considered before. What else? We show them the challenge mindset in action. The type here is small, but let me explain what's here. Do you remember when we flipped the model? We flipped the model for students in this assessment. Here's how we do it. First, we look at a challenge they want to solve, improve mental health. Then we find unique companies that are working on that challenge. What jobs are interesting there for Sample Sam? Not all the jobs, but just ones for Sample Sam. And what do you need to learn to be able to do that? I know I've been talking for 45 minutes straight and you've been diligently listening to me, but I want you to notice one or two unique things here. I've never seen an assessment do this. We looked at a challenge that the student wanted to solve. We showed them real companies working on the challenge they care about and gave examples of specific jobs at those companies and what you need to learn to be able to do that. This is a unique feature of this assessment. So why are we giving them this information? Well, they need this information to make career choices, right? About what they want to learn and why and how. And this unique data, what we find is what they need to learn to be able to do that. So if this is something that you want to do, let me summarize what I've said so far. We're offering an assessment with a customized report and a coaching call. All of this stuff happens over the span of 1 week, from when you take the assessment to when you book your coaching call, typically. And it happens in less than 60 minutes of time. I think this, based on market value and comparison, should be worth $250. We're doing it for $50 until November 20th. You might be looking at this saying, well, it's ridiculous in terms of the value that you're getting. I agree. Just know that from our side of the equation, we're in a process of learning about what parents want, what parents need, what students need, and we're very hungry for your feedback, for your insights about what you love, okay? So just until November 20th, we're doing it at $50 for this package. Now, Jody, I had an idea before the call. If people sign up today or tomorrow, can you and I send them our ebook on the 5 career conversations for parents? We've got this 50-page ebook that empowers you as parent, as a career coach. I think that's something we could send for free logistically if people sign up today or tomorrow, just as a way to say thank you for showing up. I know you invested a lot of time, energy, and attention just for being here. And in my mind, you should get a little thank you. So Jody, do you think that's realistic? Like, can we do that manually?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Great, good. Okay. Okay, one thing you should know about us is we're based in Canada. That's $50 Canadian, so it's even less in the US, if that helps you make your decision. And Jody gave you the link to be able to do that. We'll give it again at the end of the call. I just want to cover a couple of questions that we get from parents, classic questions. First of all, is it going to work? This is the best thing I can tell you. If you engage in this service, you go through the steps, your team does the assessment, they review their report, you come to the coaching call. By the way, the parent is invited to the coaching call as well. I guarantee that they're going to see more career clarity, confidence, and purpose in their career path. If not, you get your money back. That's how much we believe in what we're doing. So we want to make sure that it works for you. Other questions? How much time does it take? Usually the whole thing happens over a week, and it's less than 60 minutes time. 30 minutes to do the assessment, 30 minutes to go over the results in the coaching call. You might be wondering, okay, well, it sounds good to me. Does it sound good to my team? You don't know yet. They're not sitting beside you. That's fair. Well, one way to look at it is that the whole approach that we've built is to make it more interactive than any career test, more engaging, more motivating than the traditional approach of being matched to job titles. So we've been specializing in teens who are reluctant, skeptical, for whom the system isn't working. That's why we built the career assessment in the first place, and your team would be able to take advantage of that. You might be asking, are they even ready in the first place to do this? I already gave you my point of view on when to do it 20 years ago or now. And there's different things they'll get about it in the process. And you'll see them in the coaching call. By the way, the coaching call is with me. The whole point of the coaching call is to customize the results based on what they need, where they're at. Some of the students on this call need to pick an education program. We're going to focus all the data on that. Some of them need to apply for an internship. We focus the session on that. So it's focused on exactly where your teens are and what they need to do. So perfect age is hard to say, but I've done this assessment with people from grade 9 all the way to like, there's mid-career professionals that are working on this. I know today I just focused on teens and students, but the challenge mindset's being used with people who are in the middle of their careers. And just in the sake of time, like, what if my teen already has an idea? You might have a team that already has an idea or knows exactly what they want to do. So two parts to this. Number one, if they already have an idea, this assessment can add a structured approach to validate and expand on their ideas, getting an external perspective and lens on what they're doing, and giving them more options based on where they're starting from. If they already know, maybe this assessment will give them more confidence to double down on what resonates with them and why. That's often what people say, is that this helped me add a why to what I wanted to do. For example, even if your teen knows they want to do this specific path, they might not have thought about companies, jobs related to that. So it really rounds out their option and their thinking about their career. The goal for you as a parent is that your team will get this career clarity without the need to be perfectly ready, without the pressure to pick one job title for life, or without the pressure that you need to become the career coach or the expert in whatever industry they want to be. They might want to be in software development. They might want to be in biotechnology. That might not be the right fit, for you to pretend like you'll be the expert forever in that one thing. Jody, what's the best way to start? If someone says, you know what, this is worth it, I want to do it, can you give us the link to our tool to sign up?
For sure. And you might want to just take a peek at the chat there. We had a couple of great questions come through in regards to the signing up for it.
Yeah. Bonnie, can we buy us a holiday gift and use it in the new year? No, I'm sorry. We're just doing it in November. I'll be transparent about our objectives. We have 50 spots for this career assessment. I think as of this morning, Jody, are we at 11 or 12 that are taken up?
Yeah, I believe so, 11.
So I know I said November 20th or November 21st, but if our 50 spots are used up before then, we won't be able to honor that. So I'm sorry, Bonnie, but I'm sure that, by, not in December, not in January, but perhaps by February, we'll open up another round of assessments, but that should be in 2 or 3 months. So yes, there is a limited time. Helen, I'm sorry, we can't do the purchase now and use later. But if you have a special circumstance you want to tell me about, please email me. Like, I want to make sure I can find ways to accommodate. Kelly, you're welcome. Glad you're here. Jody, thanks for sharing that link. Okay, that's it. We're 30 seconds out from the end of our time. I'm going to ask parents, what other questions do you have what other things did you want to talk about that we haven't covered yet? Please put them in the chat. And for everyone who has to run, thank you. I hope this was a very valuable experience webinar for you. I hope this gave you valuable information that you can use with students and teens. I'm thrilled that you decided to spend this time with us. And I know it's going to lead to new and different conversations with your teens, and it can be a life-changing conversation. So I'm really glad that you invested the time and energy to do that. Don, if we buy now, can they use on Monday? Absolutely, yes. Buy now, and they'll get a link automatically sent to them to do the assessment. Nicola, thanks for coming. Susan, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for coming. Huge thank you for everybody who showed up and made the time. It's awesome. Thanks, Sandy, for being here. I didn't see you there. Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. Great to see you. Jody, thanks for setting me up for success as always.
No
Thank you.
problem. That's what I'm here for.
JP, just a question for anybody that wants to reach out because they have more questions or want to explore this further. Can you, are we going to send them our email? Like how can they get a hold of us?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Luis. So I've got my email here in the chat. You're going to hear from us. We're going to send you the slides. We're going to send you the webinar recording. If you're not sure if you have questions before you decide to get the assessment, please email me. And myself or Jody will get back to you quickly. Thanks, Luis, for reminding us of that. That's a great point. Great. Well, thanks, everyone. Look forward to our next chat. Hope we get to continue this conversation either by email or LinkedIn. Thank you. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.